Shalom, I'm Rabbi Michael Panitz, speaking to you from the pulpit of Temple Israel of Norfolk, Virginia. Today I'd like to speak to you on the subject of finding miracles in the ordinary. Finding miracles in the ordinary. The spectacular can blind us to the quietly extraordinary. What do I mean by that? The supernova up in the heavens shines for a season with the force of a galaxy's worth of stars. It can be seen across a void of billions of light years. But our own sun, an unexceptional star right in the middle of the Hertzsprung-Russell diagram of stellar luminosity, a garden variety star, an ordinary star, and yet it is the miraculous balance of elementary particles that sustains all of life on this planet. Niagara thunders, volcanoes overawe, the tsunami carries all away before it. And yet, the exquisite dance of covalent bonds in the thoroughly ordinary is the miracle we all too often overlook. What, after all, is the extraordinary? By definition, it's the opposite of the ordinary. But doesn't that sell the ordinary short? The ordinary is uncounted billions of places in our galaxy that harbor no life. But the ordinary on this fragile planet is the matrix for us all. That's pretty special. For that matter, what's so ordinary about the particular laws of nature of our universe, constituted so as to give rise to life, even in one place out of a billion? In his poem, Auguries of Innocence, the poet William Blake, a sensitive religious soul, put this idea so well. To see the world in a grain of sand, and a heaven in a wild flower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in an hour. Let's translate this to human affairs. The great conquerors, Alexander the Macedonian, Genghis Khan, Napoleon, library shelves are filled with their biographies. But are they closer to fulfilling God's will than the forgotten little man or woman? The Bible is a drama with two actors, God and humanity. The Bible has its heroes, but only because they advance the basic goal, which is a relationship that encompasses all of us. What God wants of us is within the grasp of everyone to achieve. What does God ask of us? The spectacular is not the common task for you and me. God does not want something from each of us that we can't do. God wants each of us to be a force for justice, to love mercy, to walk humbly with God. Each of us can do that. The Bible has many ways of teaching this basic lesson. There's a lovely little story in the biblical passage that we're going to read this Shabbat, easily overlooked, about a well in the desert. I have read and reread that story, which comes from the book of Numbers, chapter 21, every year throughout my adult life. But this year, that little story has jumped out because I believe that it teaches an important lesson about the holiness that is within the ordinary. Let's hear the story set within the catalog of the stages of the Israelites' journey through the desert. They traveled from the Arnon brook to Be'er, which is the well where the Lord said to Moses, "Assemble the people, that I may give them water." Then Israel sang this song. Ali Be'er Enula, Be'er Chafaruha Sarim, Karuha Nedivei Ha'am, Bimchokek B'mish'anotam, Umimidbar Matana. Israel sang this song, "Spring up, O well, sing to it, the well which the chieftains dug, which the nobles of the people started with maces, with their own ceremonial staffs." Now this is chapter 21. Just one chapter earlier, we saw a real miracle of the Sunday school variety. God getting water out of the rock at Meribah. That's the sort of miracle later celebrated in Israelite memory and sung about in sacred poetry. This is the book of Psalms, number 114, the end of the psalm. Milifnei Adon chuli aretz, milifnei Eloah Yaakov, hahochvi hatzur agamayim, chalamish lemayin omayim. Before the Master whirl, O earth, before the God of Jacob, who turns the rock to a pond of water, who turns flint to a spring of water. So that's a conventional miracle. But this is a miracle too. Finding water in the desert is no small thing. Learning how to live within the limits of the environment. Opening your eyes to the resources that are there, for those who have eyes to see, that's a miracle that can happen even in our own non-biblical days. Much earlier in the Bible, in the story of the banishment of Ishmael, Genesis chapter 21, we read that Hagar put her son under one of the bushes because she was lost in the wilderness and she'd run out of water and she was afraid that they were going to die of thirst. To buy a little bit more time, she put him in the shade. She put him under a bush. She put him under a living bush in the desert. Do you see what's wrong with this picture? Where is the water in that scene that she can't find? If you don't yet know the answer, ask yourself this: how is the bush alive in the midst of the desert? In the story, God hears the cry of the boy Ishmael, and God opens Hagar's eyes. She sees that there is water there. But what does that mean? Doubtless, what she did was dig underneath the bush to the water that was nourishing its roots. Digging, a very ordinary piece of work. That's what the Song of the Well in our chapter celebrates, that the chieftains started digging a well and they found water. Where's the miracle? We could say it's the quiet miracle of life on our planet, a miracle that we must train ourselves to see and appreciate again and to preserve and protect. Or we could say it's a miracle of using the eyes and using the mind with which God endowed us. Or we could say it is the miracle of the extraordinary cloaked inside the thoroughly ordinary. The miracle of the everyday, not only the Sabbath and festival. The miracle of everywhere, not only at Mount Sinai. The miracle of everyone, not only a high priest or a prophet. The miracle of existence in the universe, God's handiwork. Savor the miracle and act accordingly.